My 8-year-old daughter, Sophia, spent 3 weekends at a pottery studio, painting a ceramic vase for her grandmother. It was covered in lopsided flowers, and about 5 different shades of blue. She was prouder of it than anything I'd ever seen. We were at my parents' house for Thanksgiving. My mother, Linda, picked it up, holding it under the dining room light. "Oh," she said, her voice thin. "How?" "Ka." And then she accidentally let it slip. It shattered on the hardwood floor. 100 pieces of blue ceramic. Sophia gasped. My mother sighed. "Oh, dear. Clumsy me. Well, it was a nice thought." "Sweetie?" My sister, Amanda, laughed. A sharp, barking sound. "Try again when you're older. Kid. At least it matches the trash can better than the table." I didn't laugh. I didn't move. I just watched the light drain from my daughter's face. Then I stood up. And I said this. Everyone was speechless. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. Every fork froze. My husband, Michael, put his down. Sophia was just staring at the broken pieces, her shoulders shaking, trying to hold back the sobs. I could smell the turkey and the sage, but all I felt was ice. I knew that drop wasn't an accident. It was a message. It was the same message they'd been sending me my entire life. I picked up my water glass. "I'd like to make a toast," I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. Linda looked annoyed. My father, Robert, just looked confused. Amanda rolled her eyes. Already bored. "I want a toast to clarity," I said, looking right at my mother. "Thank you for making everything crystal clear." I raised my glass higher. "And a toast to the last time you will ever see us." The silence that followed was heavy. Thick. You could feel it pressing on your skin. I set the glass down. "Michael, we're leaving." He didn't ask why. He didn't hesitate. He just stood up. I walked over to Sophia, took her small hand, and pulled her gently away from the ceramic wreckage. We walked out. No one said a word. We didn't slam the door. There was just a quiet, final click as it shut. The car ride home was completely silent. Michael drove, his hands tight on the wheel. I just stared straight ahead, watching the streetlights pass. From the back seat, I heard one small, choked sound. It was a sob from Sophia. It wasn't the sound of a kid crying over a broken toy. It was the sound of shame. The sound of someone small being told they weren't good enough. And in that moment, whatever anger I felt didn't just burn. It turned into steel. I tucked Sophia into bed. She'd been quiet all evening. That heavy, adult kind of quiet that doesn't belong on an 8-year-old. As I turned off her light, she whispered. She didn't like it. Did she? I sat on the edge of her bed. No, sweetie. But that's not because it wasn't beautiful. It was because she doesn't know how to see things clearly. It's okay, Mom, she said, turning her face into the pillow. You don't have to pretend. I went to my home office and shut the door. The silence in here was different. It wasn't peace. It was precision. I'm a chief accountant. My entire life is built on numbers. On ledgers that balance. On things making sense. I opened my laptop and pulled up a password-protected Excel file. The one I never showed Michael. The title was Family Expenses. I opened it, and the numbers glowed in the dark. Line item 1, monthly living support, L&R. $1,000. Every month. For 10 years. $120,000. Line item 2, emergency roof repair, L&R. $9,000. Paid in a lump sum 3 years ago. Line item 3, Amanda, car down payment. $5,000. A loan she never intended to pay back. The total at the bottom was a number that made me physically sick. I stared at it. My hands steady on the keyboard. I wasn't helping. I was funding. I was paying for my own abuse. I always thought that if I worked harder, earned more, if I just became more useful, that one day, they would finally see me. That one day, I'd earn my place at the table. There's a term for this in toxic family psychology. There are always 2 roles, the golden child and the scapegoat. My sister, Amanda, was the golden child. She was a failed lifestyle influencer who'd never held a real job. Every mistake she made was a learning experience. Every minor success was proof of her brilliance. I was the scapegoat. My successes, like my career or my stable marriage, were just my duty. They were expected. But my failures, my failures like painting a vase the wrong color or having a child who did the same, those were proof that I was, at my core, a disappointment. For years, I told myself my mother's high standards were a sign of love, that she was pushing me to be better. It wasn't love. It was control. And this spreadsheet was the price. This was the receipt for trying to buy the same love the golden child got for free. Ai, Jem Tui Ching. I looked at that final, sickening number at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Then I closed the file. I clicked on my web browser and opened my online banking portal. The page loaded. Clean and blue. I clicked on Bill Pay and Transfers. I saw the list. Monthly living support, L&R. Scheduled for the first of every month. $1,000. I clicked on it. Delete this recurring payment. I hit confirm. A little green checkmark appeared. Gone. Next. The Family Emergency Fund transfer. Delete. Confirm. One by one. I dismantled the entire financial system that had been holding me hostage. With every click, I felt a little bit of my own life coming back. It wasn't anger anymore. It was just auditing. Closing the books. The next morning, the house felt different. Quieter. I was in the kitchen making coffee when Sophia patted in. She stood there for a moment, just watching me. Thank you. Mom, she whispered. I turned around. For what? Sweetie. For leaving. She wrapped her arms around my waist, and I held her, my eyes stinging. That one sentence confirmed everything I'd done. A few hours later, right on schedule, my phone started to ring. The caller ID was Linda. I let it go to voicemail. A second later, a text. You will pick up this phone right now. I let it ring again. This time, I answered. I didn't even say hello. How dare you? My mother's voice was practically a shriek. How dare you humiliate me in my own home? After everything we've done for you, you ungrateful. I hung up. My phone immediately rang again. This time, Robert. My father. I answered. Hello. His voice was gentle, full of that familiar, weary disappointment. The voice of the peacemaker. Helga. Honey. Your mother is very upset. And listen. I think there's a mistake with the bank. The monthly payment didn't come through this morning. You know, the one for the mortgage. It wasn't a mistake. Dad? I said quietly. Oh. Well. Can you fix it? Your mother's? Well. You know how she gets. Just fix it. And we can all move past this little episode. No. The silence on his end was heavy. What do you mean? No. I mean no. It's not being sent again. I'm done. Helga. Don't be childish. I hung up. I opened my contacts. Find Linda. Block this caller. Find Robert. Block this caller. My phone went silent. For 2 whole days. There was nothing. It was the most peaceful 72 hours I'd had in a decade. And then, a text came in from my cousin. Helga. What is this? Are you okay? Attached was a link. A link to a GoFundMe page. My blood went cold. I clicked it. The title was, Help My Parents. Abandoned by their heartless daughter. The picture was a selfie of Amanda, my sister, with her arms around both my parents. Amanda was crying, mascara running down her cheeks. My mother was looking up with a look of saintly, tragic bravery. I read the description. It was all there. Lies. Explaining to a public performance. It said I had cut my elderly, struggling parents off without a word. That I had done it out of spite. That they were now, suddenly, facing foreclosure on their home and needed $20,000 immediately just to get by. I scrolled down. People were donating. $200 from an old aunt. $50 from a neighbor. They hadn't just escalated. They had taken the war public. This wasn't a family drama anymore. This was fraud. I stared at that GoFundMe page for a long time. The anger I'd felt in the car, that hot, sharp rage, was gone. This was something else. This was cold. This wasn't just a lie. It was a performance. It was defamation. It was wire fraud. They were using my name to solicit money under false pretenses. I picked up my phone, my thumb hovering over my lawyer's contact, and I hesitated. Just for a second. But it was there. That old, familiar voice in the back of my head. Just pay it. Helga. Just make it go away. It's only money. Don't make things worse. Just keep the peace. People who haven't lived it always ask, why did you stay so long? Why did you let them treat you that way? They don't understand the trauma bond. It's not love. It's an addiction. It's a cycle of unpredictable abuse mixed with just enough rare, tiny crumbs of praise to keep you starving for more. Those few good days, a rare compliment. A moment of peace. They act like a drug. They make you forget the bad times and crave that minimum approval. For my entire adult life, I wasn't paying their bills. I was paying for hope. The hope that this time, this payment, this act of service, would be the one that finally made me enough. That this time, I'd get the love the golden child got for free. Staring at that GoFundMe page. The lies. The public humiliation. The sheer audacity of it. It wasn't an attack. It was the antidote. The bond snapped. The addiction broke. I wasn't craving their approval anymore. I was just done. My thumb pressed the call button. Hey, I said when she answered. I need you to send a cease and desist letter. And I also need you to draft a formal repayment demand for every personal loan I've ever given my parents. Don't worry. I have a spreadsheet. The cease and desist letter worked like a magic wand. Within 2 hours, the GoFundMe page was gone. My family went completely silent. No calls. No texts. No public pleas for money. For about a week, I actually started to breathe. I thought, maybe that's it. Maybe they finally understand. I started to relax. I took Sophia to the park. We made pancakes. The house felt lighter. Then, I got a notification on my phone. An email from my bank. Subject transfer confirmation. Your scheduled transfer of $15. Ling ling ling. Has been completed. I stared at my phone. $15,000. My heart didn't just drop. It evaporated. No. That had to be a mistake. A phishing email. I didn't schedule that. I logged into my bank account. My fingers fumbling on the keys. There it was. A single, gaping line item. Wire transfer, $15. Ling ling ling. Outgoing. I called the bank. My voice shaking so badly, I could barely get the words out. I'm reporting a fraudulent transfer. $15,000. I did not authorize this. The woman on the phone was calm. Ma'am. I'm looking at the record. This wasn't an external hack. This was initiated using the power of attorney on file. The what? And then I remembered. Years ago. When Sophia was just a baby and I was overwhelmed with paperwork. My parents had insisted I sign one. Just in case. Helga. Just in case there's an emergency and we need to help. An emergency. They used it. I whispered. They stole it. If the POA is valid? Ma'am. It's not technically theft. It's an authorized transfer. I hung up. I wasn't just shaking anymore. I was cold. This was a level of betrayal I couldn't even process. I called my lawyer. I could barely speak. They took $15,000. They used an old power of attorney. They stole my money. Her voice turned sharp. Okay. Helga. This is no longer a civil matter. This is a criminal one. I'm filing an immediate fraud complaint with the bank's head office and a police report for elder financial abuse. Only you're the victim. It all felt like a blur. Police reports. Fraud affidavits. My lawyer called me back a few hours later. Her voice was different. It was the same cold, precise tone I used when I was auditing a rigged set of books. Helga. She said. I ran a trace on the wire transfer. As is standard. Okay. The receiving account. It doesn't belong to your parents' mortgage lender. I waited. The recipient is a registered LLC. Does the name Amanda's Vibrant Life mean anything to you? I couldn't speak. The air left my lungs. It was all a lie. The roof. The mortgage. The struggling elderly parents. It was all a performance. They didn't just steal from me. They stole from me to give it to her. To fund the failed business of the golden child. That was the kill shot. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was a felony. My lawyer called me that afternoon. They're panicking, she said. Their attorney just called mine. They're offering to wire the full $15,000 back. Today. If you agree to withdraw the police report and the bank fraud complaint. I sat there, staring at a spreadsheet on my screen. Not really seeing it. They were trying to buy their way out of a crime. Tell them I'll think about it, I said. But I didn't get a chance to think. That evening, my doorbell rang. Not a normal ring, but a frantic, repeated pressing of the button. I looked through the peephole. It was my mother. Linda. Alone. I hadn't seen her since Thanksgiving. She looked smaller. Her hair was a mess. Her eyes red and swollen. The perfectly composed, in-control matriarch was gone. In her place was a desperate, terrified woman. I opened the door, keeping the chain on. Helga, thank God. She pushed against the door, rattling the chain. Helga. Please. Let me in. You have to stop this. I just looked at her. Please, she sobbed, pressing her face close to the gap. You have to call them off, your lawyer. The police. Helga. They're talking about police. You're destroying this family. You're destroying your father. Her words didn't hit me. Nothing hit me. I was just numb. You stole $15,000 from me, I said. It wasn't an accusation. It was a fact. Like stating the weather. It was. We needed it. It was an emergency. Was it? I asked. Was the mortgage late again? Did the roof cave in? It was for Amanda. The words ripped out of her. Araf. Desperate shriek. Her business. It was failing. She needed the money. Helga. She just needed a little help. And there it was. The final. Absolute truth. She stood there, sobbing, her face streaked with mascara. You always have enough. You're so stable. Why can't you just share? She's your sister. I stared at her. All those years. All the money. All the effort. All the nights I spent trying to be good enough. It was never for me. I didn't exist as a person. I only existed as a resource. A deep, reliable well for them to draw from whenever the golden child was thirsty. It's not sharing. Mom, I said. My voice was quiet. Not when you steal it. She started to protest again. To beg. To explain. I just said, goodbye, Linda. And I gently closed the door. I didn't slam it. I just clicked it shut. I heard her pound on it once. Then a long, wailing sob. I walked away, turned on the kettle, and made myself a cup of tea. The $15,000 was back in my account by 9 a.m. The next morning, my lawyer made sure the repayment agreements for the other loans, the roof, the car were ironclad and notarized. My parents were now legally bound to make small, monthly payments to me. The consequences for them were swift. Without my monthly $1,000 support, they couldn't afford the mortgage on their oversized house. They sold it within 2 months and moved into a small rental apartment 3 hours away. Amanda's Vibrant Life, LLC, was quietly dissolved, a week after the bank fraud complaint. Once the real story got out, that the theft wasn't about saving a house, but about funding a failed influencer, the rest of the family distanced themselves. My mother, so obsessed with her public image, had finally lost it. I sat at my desk a few days later. I opened that old, poisoned Excel file. Family expenses. I stared at the total at the bottom. All that money. All that time. All that hope. Just gone. I right-clicked the file. I didn't archive it. I hit delete. Then I opened a new, blank, spreadsheet. I typed in the header, Sophia's college fund. I went to my bank account, took that stolen $15,000, and transferred every single cent of it into a new high-yield savings account under that name. It wasn't blood money anymore. It was her future. A few months passed. The house was quiet. The calls had stopped. The automatic payments were gone. I was in the backyard, reading a book, when I heard Sophia laugh. I looked up. She was sitting at her little picnic table, her tongue sticking out in concentration, painting a brand new ceramic vase. It was messy. It was covered in bright purples and chaotic swirls. It was absolutely perfect. She looked up at me, and beamed. Her hands covered in paint. "I'm making this one for us," she said. I smiled. And for the first time in my entire adult life, the silence in my life didn't feel heavy. It didn't feel like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. It just felt like peace.